sure he was going to be back yet.
Yeah.
He was
We're gonna
traveling.
Recording in progress.
All right, I'd like to call the informational meeting for the City of Essex Junction to order. Welcome, I'm Steve Eustace, your moderator for today's informational meeting. And I wanted to start out, we can just go down and mention names and shoot across.
Regina Mahoney, City Manager.
Amber Tebow, Vice President, City Council.
Marcus Serta, City Councilor.
Tim Miller, Clerk, City Council.
All right, thank you. And I know we have staff available to answer questions as well. So procedures, this is an informational meeting such that there's no motions to be made, amendments, et cetera. This is about the warrant items that are going to be voted on by ballot. So if anybody wants to make comments or ask questions during the meeting, we're going to have, if you're in the building, we're going to come over here to the mic to ask. And then if anyone's online, they can raise their hand and Regina will relay that to me, who to go over. We're going to remind people on the 2-minute limit for remarks. And also for each of the articles, I'll read them and then there'll be a short presentation. And then we'll allow questions and comments at that point in time. So, and if you have any questions, just ask and we can go from there. And also we have our usual be civil and respectful of everyone's opinions. So, all right, so let's start out without further ado and go to Article 1. Shall the voters approve an annual general fund budget in the amount of $12,419,241 for fiscal year July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026, $11,405,931 of which is to be levied in taxes against the city grand list. So why don't you go ahead with the presentation, Regina?
Okay. All right, so what you see on the slide here is what the overall proposed general fund is for FY26. That's the second column. That's shown here in comparison to the FY25 city budget. So it's a $415,000 increase, and that is a 3% increase on the general fund. What that looks like in comparison to the tax rate, again, the first column here is the FY25 tax rate. The proposed FY26 tax rate is $1.0120. That's a change of $73. And that change over FY25 is a 2.6% increase. As a comparison, the $280,000 assessed property would see a $73 increase over 1 year to the next. And these tax rates here include both the tax agreement and economic development rate as well. The council asked to see also what the enterprise utility rates look like for FY26. So to be clear, the only thing being voted on this slide is that top row. That is the general fund as it looks for a $280,000 assessed value home. The other two rows, the total all utility rate, those are from the enterprise budgets that the council will approve directly in a couple of months. Then the third line is the stormwater utility, which is being proposed as a new utility that will still require a public hearing. That's scheduled for April 9th. Assuming all of those budgets remain as they are today, overall, the impact on residents in the city is roughly looking at a 7.5% increase over FY25 and about $250 increase. Again, that is for an assumed 280,000 assessed value home and somebody who uses a typical amount of water in their residential property. Overall, the expenses in the FY26 general fund budget, in that blue pie there, that's the biggest chunk, that is public safety, the police department, fire department, and Essex Rescue is in there. Then general government services is 16% of the budget in orange, then public works at 13%, and then we go down from there. On the revenue side of the equation, 75% of the revenue for the general fund comes from residential property taxes, 11% comes from city businesses, 8% is miscellaneous revenues, that's fees that come into the clerk's office or community development department, and then Global Foundries is 6%. Let me see if I have another slide. I think that's it for the overview
Okay.
of the budget.
All right, thank you very much for that overview.
Let me stop sharing.
Does anyone in the room or online have comments or questions on this article? Rush the mic. And remember to identify your name.
George Dunbar. As I've been reviewing, trying to understand why we have the highest tax rate of the cities and municipalities in the county. One thing I noticed that stuck out was our recreation budget. Now, the recreation budget's two worlds. We have one in the general fund, we have an enterprise fund. And it speaks highly of the programs that we have. They're under great use and they're well desired. But in the general fund, we have $780,000 administering an operating budget of $360,000. And on the enterprise side, so we have $100,000 administrating a $4 million operating budget. And it just seems like there's an opportunity to move more of those administration costs out of the general fund over to the enterprise funds. And I'm just wondering why that hasn't been done. It'd save roughly, in my estimation, 5 to 6 cents on the tax rate. So just any comments?
Yeah. Who would like to address that?
I can take it. We've also got both Brad Luck here and Jess Morris, so either of you feel free to chime in if you want to add anything. I will say over the last few budget cycles, we have shifted some of those expenses that are truly associated with the program funds from the general fund into the program fund. As an example, this year, some of the costs associated with Park Street School moved over to the program fund. Outside of that, my perspective, I don't think everything that EJRP is doing is specifically related to their program fund. They provide an immense service to the community that is not something that is tied to a program fund and a fee. I think the program is, in rough numbers, a quarter in the general fund, 3/4 in the program fund, and I think speaks to the value of that service and that we want to hear in the community.
Why don't you just stay there?
You said a quarter in the general fund and 3/4 in the program fund? I see it the other
Very
way.
roughly.
Well, it's 780,000 in the general fund and $100,000 in the program fund for administration costs.
You're looking at just the admin.
Well, the admin in reference to the operational funds that they're supporting. You have $780,000 in the general fund admin supporting a $360,000 operational budget. And you have $100,000 administration costs supporting a $4 million operational cost in the program fund.
Yep. So I think, just to clarify the question, or what I'm hearing is the ratio of administration to other expenses within each of the two funds.
Right, and it just
That's
seems
what
like,
the
it seems like there's an opportunity to move more of those from the general fund side over to the program side, because I have a tough time understanding how it should, in my mind, they should basically be switched. $100,000 of administration supporting a $360,000 operational budget, and $780,000 of admin supporting a $4 million operational budget. So,
Do you understand that?
Yes, and I see that Brad has his hand up.
Perfect. Go ahead, Brad.
Great, thanks. I think, George, it's a little bit about semantics in terms of what we consider administration. And so I totally understand your point, and I think it's basically about how things are categorized. But within the program fund, there's lots of administration that takes place within our different divisions at EJRP. So we have administration with our preschool, we have administration with our licensed childcare programs, we have administration within our recreation programs. And so those items are within those individual budgets. So when you're looking at the licensed childcare budget or the preschool budget or the recreation programs budget, there's actually admin that's built into those. When we talk about admin on the general fund side, what we're really talking about is the basic overhead, so to speak, to fund a recreation department. And we've been working very diligently with finance and the board and the manager over the last couple of years to really make sure we're right sized for what our community is. And so we're making steps to continue to move that way, where we, a normal community of our size, I think, has a recreation director, has somebody who answers the phone and deals with customers, has a program director. And in our community, we also have a program director to provide senior services. And so I think we're working towards that. And the rest of the admin is really already in the program fund or slowly moving there or gradually moving there.
okay, and just from a numbers perspective, it just doesn't look very, because like I said, it says, I think the admin's a little over $100,000 on the program side. But good, continue working that way. I'm not going to lay on this too much longer, but and if that's the case, there again, I was comparing all the communities within Chittenden County, and we seem to be about 2 or 3x on the general fund side. So I just keep pushing that direction as much as you could to make it look that way. So.
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback, and certainly I think also a better lens would maybe to look at all of the salaries and wages for full-time staff that are in the general fund, as opposed to all of the full-time salaries and wages that are in the program fund. And I think that will be a better demonstration of the difference there.
All right. Thank you, George. All right. Any other comments people would like to make on this article? Anyone online? Okay. That being said, let's move on to Article 2. Shall the general obligation bonds or notes of the City of Essex Junction in an amount not to exceed $3,800,000 in aid, if any, be issued to finance the cost of retrofitting the 3 pump stations located on West Street, Maple Street, and River Street? All right. Go ahead with the overview.
Looking the wrong way. Okay. So this question is for a bond vote for retrofits for 3 pump stations. And each of those pump stations are really nearing or past end of life. West Street Pump Station was installed in 1968. River Street Pump Station established in 1973, and Maple Street in 1973 as well. So the concept here is to get these pump stations upgraded to meet future demands and improve community safety. Also, another important point to keep in mind for the West Street pump station, that is a shared pump station that services both the town of Essex as well as the city of Essex Junction. Currently, the flow running through that pump station is about 70% town of Essex versus 30% city of Essex Junction. So that is how that debt is projected to be cost shared. That flow ratio may change over the life of the debt, but that is what that's about.
Okay. Right, thank you for that overview. Is there anyone that would like to ask questions or comment on Article 2? Anyone online? All right. I think we're good on that. Very good explanation then. All right. Let's move on to Article 3. Article 3 is to elect city officers required by law, including one city council member for 3 years, one library trustee for 5 years, and one Champlain Water District Commissioner for 3 years. And so there's really not too much debate on it, or questions. The ballots are available, and you can vote, elect the people at the same time as you're voting, which is at the Champlain Valley Exposition on Tuesday, April 8th, or you can get your ballots ahead of time and vote in the city office, parking by the fire station, and talk to the clerk if you have any questions specific to that. I should ask, though, does anyone online or in the room have a question on the logistics of how we're voting for April 8th? All right. So that sounds good. And then the next line is anything anyone would like to bring up that was not as part of the articles that involves the city that they would like to talk about. Anyone in the room? Okay. Anyone online? Okay. Quiet crowd tonight. It's a good thing you had questions, George. So, all right. So we'll keep moving along, which takes us to a motion to adjourn if there's no other business.
So moved.
Seconded, and please share what you have done here with Raj.
Okay. All in favor, vote aye.
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 All right, so moved. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. I know.